Welcome to Knowledgeable Aging. I'm your host, Jason Kotar. Joining us today to talk about fall prevention, how adults over 65 can stay on their toes and off the floor, is Amanda Rees. Amanda is the CEO and co-founder of Bold. Bold's online platform creates personalized, science-backed programs to address the most fundamental health and well-being challenges faced by older adults. Bold provides clinical exercise programs to prevent falls, reduce arthritis-related disability, and increase activity levels so that everyone has the ability to age well. Bold partners with healthcare organizations to make these programs affordable and accessible entirely online. Amanda has been a fitness instructor for over a decade, teaching dance, yoga, indoor cycling, and Tai Chi. How are you doing today, Amanda?
I'm doing great. It's so good to be here, Jason.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, Amanda, I'd like to get started. Why is fall prevention important?
Well, I imagine for almost anyone, doesn't matter what your age is, you are about 1 degree removed from someone who has had a fall, and every single person has experienced a fall, whether it was a slip, a trip, or something maybe bigger and scarier. So as we age, there are, more concerning statistics around falling. It becomes more prevalent. 1 in 3 adults over 65 fall every year, and they become a little bit more dangerous or injurious, as falls are the leading cause of hip fractures, and the recovery can be really complex and challenging. And so we like to focus on the piece of prevention, where even though they're prevalent and even though they can have these really big negative impacts, there's actually a lot that an individual like you, me, anyone listening can do to prevent that fall. And so we really focus on what do we have the ability to control, how can we spend our time to reduce the likelihood that we have one of those big scary falls.
Yeah. So what are the common causes of falls, Amanda?
Yeah, so there's, balance is pretty complex. And so there's a couple things that can impact your balance. The number one is the loss of balance and strength. So that inability to recover when you're a little off balance and actually keep your posture upright and stay stable and prevent that fall, that requires your body to have some physical balance and strength. It's also important, I always like to say, to get your eyes checked regularly, because not being able to see your environment can impact your balance as well. And there's also some things you can do in your home to make sure that there are fewer things that you might run into, might trip over. And if you do end up having a fall, it's always important to let your doctor or someone, a healthcare professional, know, so that they can help you kind of identify what your unique risks might be.
Yeah. So how can adults over 65 reduce their risks of falls?
Yeah, so it always comes back to that balance and strength piece. And what's amazing about every person's body is that you have the ability to increase your balance and strength at any age. We've seen this at Bold. We have individuals who've been into their 80s and 90s improve their balance and strength in a matter of months, but it's also true for anyone in their 30s. And what most people don't realize is that I know we're focused on the impact of falls for when you're over 55 or 60, but your balance can start changing in your 30s. And so when we talk about, well, what is a balance exercise, or how do I know what my balance is, we say it's always good if you're not doing lower body strength training or balance training, then that's a really important thing to add into your healthy habit routine. And Bold is designed really to make it easy, and you don't have to think too hard. You can sign up and say, I want to work on my balance, and someone can make those recommendations for you.
Yeah. In a general terms, as far as exercise, what role does exercise play in fall prevention?
It's huge. So there is a lot of research that has been done around, supplements and exercise, or just education and awareness. Exercise is the strongest recommended by the U.S. Preventative Task Force Service and the CDC. It's the #1 way to prevent a fall. And so exercise that can improve your strength or improve your balance is the #1 way that anyone can reduce their likelihood of falling. So most people don't have a good sense for, am I strong enough? Is my balance good enough? And there's some really interesting and easy to do at home assessments that can help you sort of quantify and know, hey, how is my balance doing? The easiest, if you just want like a 30-second test, it's can you balance on one leg for 10 seconds or more? And if you can't balance on one leg for 10 seconds without holding on to something, there's probably some work you can do to improve your balance. And so that's definitely a good starting point. But there's other ways you can test strength or test holding balance poses besides one leg that give you a sense for measuring progress as you build towards that if you're not able to balance on one foot.
Yeah. So can you talk, Amanda, about why a personalized fall prevention program is needed?
Yeah, so everyone's body is different, and that's always true. But as we age, you start to accumulate more unique things in your body just from living your life. So maybe you've had a knee surgery or knee replacement. Maybe you have an ankle injury. Maybe you have a disease or condition that also might contribute to limiting how you move or the types of movements that would be good or bad. Osteoporosis is another big one where as you age, if your bones become a little bit more brittle, more likely to break, those falls become a scarier event because it's a higher likelihood of having a fracture. And so their personalization is important to account for all of those things. It's not a one size fits all. You assume everyone's balance is the same, everyone's lived the same life and their bodies are identical. And so here's one program. And so because we are online and digital, we can ask our members these types of questions. Do you prefer to exercise seated in a chair or standing? Most people don't know you can do a lot to improve your balance. Even if you haven't been exercising and you want to start seated in a chair, there's a lot of moves you can do to start training your balance. But if maybe you've been really active, but you've had a fall or something's impacting your balance and maybe walking is the only type of exercise you've done, walking doesn't really help you condition your balance because it's missing out on those side-to-side movements and weight shifting, head turns, multitasking. So we like to personalize our programs by asking you, what do you do today? If it's nothing, if it's something, what matters most to you? Do you have 10 minutes to spend on a balance program or 45 minutes to spend or somewhere in between? And then based on all of that, we can customize a recommended program that works just for you as an individual. And we believe that's how you get the best results because it's something that accounts for who you are and where you're at. And that's a lot more meaningful. And it's also easier to stay and stick with that program when you know, okay, this was really meant for me, and therefore I'm actually more ready and able to be successful in it.
Absolutely. So what is a science-based assessment?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about science-based exercise and assessments and programs. And so there's a lot of research that's happened in exercise science, and there's a lot of data that has been collected going back for many decades around how someone's balance or strength might change as they age, because there's other things like changes in muscle mass or muscle loss as you age. And so what is a really good measurement for someone who's in their 70s might not be as strong of a measurement for someone in their 40s, right? And so you need to normalize where someone's at. And these assessments help you do that. And there's science and research and data behind how you conduct the assessment so that it's standardized, and then how you interpret the results, because not everyone is the same. And so knowing, hey, being able to do this many sit to stands, going from sitting in a chair to standing up in 30 seconds, the number might change even if you're male or female, if you're 70 or 40. And when we say science-based, we use all of that to build everything that we present in our programs online.
How has technology impacted the ability to prevent falls and improve health outcomes for our aging population?
I think we're in still pretty early days of seeing technology in aging. I know you think about aging as much as we think about aging every day. And honestly, I think that I'll start with the aging and then I'll talk about the fall prevention piece. But there's a lot of bias against older adults in technology development. So less user testing with individuals who are over 60. And what you're missing out if you aren't being age inclusive in your technology design is things that might be hard if you've got arthritis in your fingers to interact with on a mobile phone, or color choices, design choices that might not be accessible if you have glaucoma. And so thinking about the role that technology has to be more inclusive, I think is a really important issue that we spend a lot of time in our product design, our software design, to make it as easy to use, user-friendly as possible. What's most easy to use is good to use for everyone, right? There's nothing really different or special, but it's really taking that more holistic and comprehensive view on it. And then for what I also think is important is as people age, they might stop driving or be less comfortable driving. I've seen that with many of our members, or, less comfortable driving at night, less comfortable driving in certain weather conditions, or you might have other responsibilities, right? I think as you age, you might be caring for a partner or a family member or even grandchildren. And so your time and your schedule is tough. And the way that convenience is really, I think, one of the big benefits of building things digitally and with technology is the same for how technology can help us age better. Because aging today, you need the same level of access to these types of programs and services. But if you're not available that one day a week that the fall prevention class is being taught at the local gym, or maybe you don't like the local gym and it's risky for other reasons to go and participate in person, having it at home on your computer screen or tablet, or even putting it onto your TV and you can do it on your own time, that convenience I think is really helpful. Because unfortunately, while we know how to prevent falls, very few people are participating in these programs. And I think part of that is there hasn't been as wide access. It's never been as convenient as, oh, I read this article that's made me think, I want to check my balance and take a fall prevention class, or I'm curious, I want to learn, try it, just one class. Usually that hasn't been easily available for everyone. And depending on the community you live in, what your schedule is, where there's certified trainers. So with technology, you have access at the press of a button to jump into a fall prevention balance class with a leading expert trainer who's taught hundreds and hundreds of these classes and worked with many individuals that have maybe had similar considerations in their exercise and fitness plan. You can do it on your own time and you can personalize it. And that's the last, I know we talked about personalization already, but when you go to a group class, it's everyone gets the same class, and you kind of have to ask maybe some questions and hope that the person leading it knows the right answer. And one of the things that I love about our online offering is you can take all of that knowledge and centralize it so that you get that unique program for you that would otherwise cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have a personal trainer and expert do that kind of program design for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to follow up real quick on exercise. How specific should your exercise programs be? In other words, you've got individuals that are conditioned to just think exercise is exercise, or I walk, 20 minutes a day, that should be good enough. How do you reach those individuals, especially with what you guys are doing at Bold?
Sure. So walking is absolutely, there's moving your body, like the thing that we always say is moving your body, being physically active is good for you, both physically and mentally.
Yep.
But not all exercise is the same, right? We know that. When you do an exercise class after a while and you're like, man, I haven't worked that muscle. Maybe you feel it in your back or your abs, or your legs are tired when you maybe climb more stairs in a day that you didn't. So having that well-balanced program that combines strength and cardio and balance, a lot of people focus on the cardio and strength and might miss out on some of the balance pieces. So how often does someone fall just walking forward, tripping forward? Maybe you can catch yourself. But when something comes at you from the side and you have to react quickly to what's happening in your surroundings, something comes at you from the front, not many people practice walking backwards or taking backward steps or challenging the edges of their balance. And so the last thing I would say is, some people think I have my routine and that's been working for me for, a year or 10 years more. if you don't challenge yourself, right, you won't actually see an improvement. And so if someone's thinking, well, I've never had a fall, but my balance is not as good as it used to be. Maybe I think I have bad balance now, but I'm not doing anything different, then you won't get a different outcome. But if you think, I'm going to try challenging my balance, then you're going to improve your balance, and then it will change the way you're able to navigate and live your life, because balance is a really key piece of that.
You touched on my next question really, and is about almost, I believe I heard you say that variety is what you need in your exercise, right? You just can't
Variety.
do the same thing day in and day out for years and expect to be in a situation where it's going to protect your balance for you when you reach a certain age.
Yes. So some examples of, playing a sport, right? Like tennis, or where you're moving side to side, you're responding, you're reaching, you're kind of testing your limits of balance, or dance, right? Lots of balancing on one leg. Yoga has similar benefits. Tai Chi is something that maybe you've tried, maybe it sounds a little unusual. There's the most research and evidence that Tai Chi can help with balance. And sometimes when someone takes a Tai Chi class, and I know because I've taught these, they say, well, I'm not sweating, right? Or my heart rate's not elevated, so this isn't exercise.
Yeah.
What you're not realizing is exercise can look and feel like a lot of different things. And so it's that practice of shifting your weight, feeling a little off balance, being able to recover it, breathing, moving your head as you are also shifting your weight, doing multiple things at once. You're improving your coordination, and you don't have to you don't have to be super sweaty. You don't necessarily feel your heart rate elevate. It might actually feel kind of frustrating of like, oh my, this isn't a big sort of expressive movement, but that kind of movement is often what a lot of people are missing, and can really help you improve your balance in a matter of weeks and months.
So how much of this activity, Amanda, should we be doing? I mean, we've all heard, X amount of hours per week, whether it's walking or lifting weights.
Yeah.
How do you guys at Bold, what do you tell? I know it's individualized, right? So you don't say one
It
is
is.
for everybody.
No, so it depends where you're starting. If you walk for an hour a day, and so maybe you're already doing a lot of movement, maybe just adding in 10 minutes of
Mhm.
balance focused moves before or after that walk is good for you. Maybe you don't exercise at all, and so the idea of a 45-minute class is really unachievable today, and it's like, I don't know, I don't know if I can keep up. Then you might want to start. So I think about it this way: every minute of balance training is good, right? At 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes is better than zero. And if you can start with as much as 10 minutes a week, right? And maybe 10 minutes a week becomes 20 minutes a week, becomes 30 minutes a week, you're on the path to a really good place as far as um, making an investment in your balance and seeing the results, right? The more minutes you put in, the faster you'll see that improvement. Some research shows, 1 to 2 hours a week is really good. I like to say if you can get from 10 minutes a week to 100 minutes a week, we love the number 100, right? It's not quite 2 hours, but it's a good amount, and you can just knock that out in 5 20-minute sessions, more or less 3 30-minute sessions. So it's starting to build that. It also takes time in building that habit of, if this is important enough to me, that I'm going to take time to work on my balance, right? And what you spend your time on and what is important to you, you'll see those results.
Can you talk about the expectations that somebody should be thinking about when it comes to a short-term and long-term gain with regards to exercise or fall prevention? Like you said, they think, well, I'm not sweating, so it's not doing anything for me. How do you help people understand that you actually are making progress today and down the road?
Sure. So I actually think that the best short-term benefit for exercise, and we've seen this with many research and even polls with our own, thousands of our members who've told us, is that immediate satisfaction and the feeling right after a workout that's a good workout. It doesn't have to be a hard workout, but I moved my body and I'm feeling a little bit happier. My mood is maybe a little bit lighter and brighter than it was beforehand. Very few people regret spending time on investing in their own self-care. And then sleep. Sleep is another really big one. And so being able to say, you know, the day I work out, I also sleep deeper at night, because you're, you know, there's a link between your lifestyle and starting to find that regulation in your sleep hygiene, your movement, is really, I would say, the best short-term benefits. And then in a matter of weeks or a matter of months, we say every month, 2 months, 3 months, do those assessments, because those assessments will really help you dial in on if your balance has improved, if your strength has improved. So if you, you know, the first day of your program, you say, I cannot balance on one foot, I can't even balance in a, you know, a tightrope formation, I can barely balance for 10 seconds, you know, without holding on to something, you know, like a chair or a table, then try again after you exercise, right? It's not going to change if you don't do anything in between, but do, you know, a couple weeks of balance training and then try that assessment again. Or maybe it's a strength assessment. So that's how we think about tracking progress in these programs. There's also really, there's one that doesn't require you to actually do a physical assessment, but more being reflective, is, do you have a fear of falling? So someone might be listening today who says, you know, I had a fall and it scared me. And I've talked to hundreds of members and hundreds of clients of my own that have, you know, shared their story of what happened. Was they were going up or down the stairs and they slipped? Is it they were at home, their dog sort of bumped them, they were holding something, they lost their balance? Sometimes people don't get injured, but that feeling unstable can lead to a fear of falling. Unfortunately, having a fear of falling, you might start to notice things like, I'm not going outside and doing the things that I used to do because it feels riskier. And actually, there's a link between having a fear of falling and having a higher risk of falling, and also feeling more lonely and isolated, because it may not be intentional, but you may start to notice you're avoiding or withdrawing from things that you used to do. And so people limit their activity. So one of the other things I like to talk about for, you know, just feeling more confident as you age, who doesn't want to feel more confident as they age? So if you've got that fear of falling, or you're starting to feel a little bit less confident about your balance, that's also a good thing. Of, you'll know, right? You'll know how you feel moving throughout your day, whether you are more or less afraid of falling than you were a month ago. And one of my favorite, you know, outcomes and benefits of our program is, many people who begin our program feeling like they had a fear of falling are able to overcome that, because they know they've taken action, they feel more confident, and they feel that change in their strength and balance, that you don't even need something external, but that mind-body connection is really important. And so, you know, there's a lot of benefits to the programs, and we offer many things beyond just the falls, but I would say the fear of falling, and then the pain management of, if you aren't moving because you're in pain, can you flip your orientation and think, if I move more, even if I do some 10 minutes in my chair of just moving my body and creating a little bit more space and finding that extra bit of energy, people also report having less pain in their knee and hip, because knee and hip arthritis are really important, or really common as you age, and exercise is the #1 thing that surgeons, doctors, researchers say, if you've got that arthritis, is just keep moving. Don't let that stop you or keep you from moving. And so I think that pain management, if that's something that's important to you, or the fear of falling, can be other measures depending on the individual that are really important.
Yeah, I'd like to stay with something that you mentioned, was you'd like for someone to challenge their balance. Can you say
Yes.
more about what challenging means?
So there's one exercise or series of exercises in particular, where you're standing in what we call our bold base. So your feet are flat on the ground, kind of under your hips or your shoulder width, and you practice reaching. And so you're reaching forward, and there's that, you first feel your weight shift to your toes, and then you keep reaching, and you almost feel like you're going to be off balance. That's your edge, right? That's the edge of your balance, and your body wants to bring you back to a stable place, right? It's like a teeter-totter. You're going really off balance, and then you come back to center. when you aren't challenging it, your edge starts to get smaller and smaller. And so you're more likely to topple. And when you think of someone who's got incredible balance, I even think Michael Jackson, he was able to lean so far forward, and that was kind of incredible. But he had to train his body to get so far off center, off balance, and then recover. And it's not just a forward backwards movement, it's side to side, it's diagonal. And so making sure you feel like, again, it's that sense of control is really part of balance. Is when you fall, it means you've kind of lost control, you felt out of control. I think that's what can make them really scary. And so that idea of, I can feel when I'm starting to get off balance, I'm starting to feel like I lose control, and my body is trained and knows how to bring myself back to center. And so that's when, for balance, we talk about challenging, but for strength too. If you never lift heavy things, then lifting a heavy thing becomes an impossible thing to do. And
Absolutely.
So starting with a lighter, working up to medium, working up to heavier, you don't need workout equipment. You can do it with water bottles at home to start. Then you can move to, laundry detergent jugs. You're moving stuff around in your life all the time. So how can you just incorporate that and practice it and train for it so that you don't pull your back when you're lifting up that laundry detergent, or your wrist doesn't hurt because you haven't been lifting and moving things of that size.
So Amanda, if somebody is just beginning to address these balance issues, how important is it to either have some type of an assessment or have somebody with them when they're just beginning?
So I don't think we designed our program of, you don't need to have someone with you when you're just beginning. We also provide a lot of education on Bold's platform. So if you want to learn more about falls, you want to learn more about the science of balance, we've got tons of articles, and you can also write in and write messages to our team. So we really pride ourselves on having incredible member experience and member service, where we want to support someone in improving their balance as fast as possible, and in a way that lasts. Because you could do a balance program and then stop. If you stop doing it, you will lose your balance, right? Your balance will decrease again. It's called detraining. So once we get you training, we want to help you progressing and getting stronger and moving forward. And so, yes, you can start with an assessment, but that can be as easy as answering questions when you create your Bold profile. Can you balance on one leg? What's your goal? Do you want to work on balance? Do you want to work on, maybe you're like, I'll work up to balance, but I just want to practice moving. I need help making time every week to move and exercise. And so it'll be good if those are balance moves, but really I have a hard time sticking to a habit. Like, I personally have, had good habits and routines. Something happens, you get off track. It's all around that getting back onto track. It doesn't matter how many times you have to restart. Every minute of exercise is good. Yeah, you're smiling because everyone knows it, right? They can think of that time they were in the best shape ever. They were, really spending their time the way they wanted to, and then something happens. It's kids, it's parents, it's work, and we talk about that bounce back of, I was off track and I'm resilient. I'm getting back into a healthy habit. So we have things like scheduling tools. We have some live classes on the platform. If it's helpful to, see someone real time talking and leading through a class. We've also got some really fun stuff. If you're curious about, what is yoga? I don't know, like yoga, Pilates, Zumba, dance, cardio, strength. We do a lot more than just the balance and falls. And so sometimes it's just that variety of finding the person whose, teaching style works for you. And so I think a lot of it is, once it's important to you and you want to find a way, it's, what's a resource you can trust? Are the instructors certified? Do they know what they're doing? Have they worked with clients like me before? And most of our classes are on demand. So you don't have to find a certain time and carve out a certain, drive somewhere. It's, hey, this class looks good. It's 10 minutes. It's maybe a breathing and balance class. I'm just going to try that. And I want to only spend 10 minutes. So you go find that 10-minute class. So I think it's around, if you can just start getting the habit of a weekly habit and you need help creating that, like we can help you. We've got all these short format classes. We've got lots of seated classes. And, some of our members have gone from seated exercises all the way to standing cardio and lifting, 1 pound to 2 pound to 5 pound weights. Individuals, well into their 70s, 80s have, stories of success like that. And so there's no reason it can't be anyone who just decides today's the day I'm going to start.
Yeah. Last thing, Amanda, and this has been wonderful. Is there a few balance exercises that can be done from a chair?
Absolutely. So one that I like, and I can't fully demonstrate it, but if you go to our website, you'll be able to see it, are hip rocks. So even just sitting in your chair and lifting one hip up, so that just almost enough that you could slide like a magazine under one side of your body and then sit down and then hip rock to the other side. What I'm doing is getting myself off balance, and I'm training myself to get back onto balance, kind of getting a little core workout there too. Another one would be marching, so working your legs. So sitting in a chair, ideally, not resting your back on the back, but holding yourself upright, doing some marches or some kicks. Those also can be really good for warming up your knee joints, your hip joints, without putting the added weight of standing on it. So those are really good, 3 different things you can do right now while you're watching for the rest of this webinar. Anyone can do to be active and exercise some of those muscles.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Amanda.
Yeah.
So how can people find you?
Sure. So our website is www.agebold.com. And one thing, if you want it, it's free to create a membership and sign up. If your health plan might offer Bold as at no additional cost, you can also share, hey, this is the health plan I'm on, and our team can tell you, yes, you're eligible for a premium membership, and then you can get access to a lot of some of the extensive programs, extensive recommendations and things at no cost. But all of that information can be found on agebold.com.
Okay. Email, Facebook, if you want to give out that information, feel free to do that. If you wouldn't mind, Amanda, if you would spell it out just for people that will be listening on the podcast later.
Sure. Our website is www.agebold.com. That's www.agebold.com. And you can read more about the programs, create a free membership, take an assessment. Those are also a free feature. If you create a membership account, you can take those assessments and see how your score compares to other folks your age. That's a really good place to start. And then if you're really inspired, you want to get moving, you can, sign up, get a personalized program, and also share your health plan information so that if you're eligible, you can get premium benefits and membership access.
And then on social media, they can find you on Facebook and Instagram, correct?
Yes, on Facebook, just search for Age Bold. Instagram, same thing, Age Bold, and YouTube as well.
Very good. Well, as far as knowledgeable aging, you can go to knowledgeableaging.com, see all of our upcoming and archived webinars. You can go to YouTube. I encourage you to subscribe. We update that 4 to 5 times a month. If podcasts are your thing, you can find us on Apple Tunes, Spotify, etc. Till next time, I'm your host, Jason Kotar. And this is Knowledgeable Aging.